don't.
Hi.
Okay, I'm just going to say I'm freaking out and I'm fangirling, and I've never been so nervous to be on our podcast with anybody.
Oh my gosh, I'm nervous. I always get so nervous when I'm a guest on a podcast. I'm like, I'm scared I'm gonna just fumble all my words.
We're awful too because there's so many of us. It's like, hi, welcome.
I think that makes it easier though. I feel less pressure. I'm like, this is great. There's so many. This is perfect.
Welcome.
I'm Zoe. I'm going to introduce myself and let the girls introduce themselves as well. My name is Rachel, and I'm so grateful for you to be here. I'm going to let Jenn Dunn go first, who also just jumped out of the screen at you when you beeped in. She's your biggest fan, and she's about to get weird. It's not going to get better.
Welcome to Talk Like a Mother Parenting Autism Podcast. We are Jenn, Kim, Rachel, and Jaime. Take a seat at our table as we share with hope, humor, and honesty.
Hey everyone, thanks for listening. We are excited to talk like a mother with Zoe Potter today. You may know Zoe from Instagram and TikTok. We first heard her name because Jenn Dunn is one of her biggest fans. I'm going to tell you all about her in a moment, but first, hey Zoe.
Hi.
Before anything else, or so our listeners can follow you before they start their drive or what they're doing, will you tell everyone where they can find you, and then we'll get started?
Yeah. Love Zoe Potter across TikTok and Instagram, just Zoe Potter on YouTube. And if you want to listen to my podcast, it's the Kinda Influenced podcast. And you can find our socials just by searching Kinda Influenced podcast.
Thank you. For everyone that has not followed Zoe, you should know that she lives in Ontario, Canada with her husband, Andrew, her daughter, Marlo, and son, Theo. Because Jenn is extra big fan, we know that your dog's name is Reese. They eat gluten-free food from the pet store off 3rd Avenue. I'm just kidding. I do know though that you're a Diet Coker and that you cut your hair recently. It's darling. What a good mom.
Oh, thank you. Yes, I love a good Diet Coke. And yeah, I chopped off my hair and I'm kind of regretting it, but
Really?
yeah, just fractionally. I still like it, but it's such a commitment to grow it back. So I'm like, I kind of miss it. And I know it's going to be a while before it gets there. So
yeah.
So cute. In a more serious way, Zoe has focused on plus size fashion, lifestyle, anti-diet, and self-love content. We knew that she'd be the perfect fit for this episode about intuitive eating and body positivity. And we'll even be able to chat about her posts about what she eats in a day. Zoe, can we start with your thoughts behind body positivity? Because I need a guru.
So I personally, I'm not really a body positive page, but I do know that my page does kind of go hand in hand with it. So I'm never offended when someone says how do I, do this or do that with body positivity? It's just a very specific movement that was made years ago. And it focuses on, so there's so many aspects and realms to it. And I kind of just fall under I'm trying to do my best and I'm trying to love myself as I go kind of page.
Yeah.
Which does kind of go hand in hand really nicely. So I just kind of fell into it on accident a few years ago after having my son. I was kind of stuck in a really bad place. I didn't love myself. I've never loved myself. I've always been actively trying to change my body, myself, pretty much everything about myself I've never enjoyed. And after having my son, I had really severe postpartum depression. And I just kind of took a break from dieting and wanted to just try and accept myself for who I am in that moment. It took a very long time. I documented it publicly. I had lots of ups and downs, and I kind of built a community along the way. So I'm very grateful for it. And to this day, I can say that I no longer hate myself. We're on pretty good terms.
Oh, I love that. We're on pretty good terms. I love that. Congratulations. What a shift.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. It's like a weight, physical and literal weight lifted off your shoulder when that happens.
So I found you by typing in what I eat in a day because I love those videos. And so that's how I stumbled across you.
I just found you on Instagram just scrolling. And then I'm like, oh, I like these. And then you know how the algorithm is, if you watch something, it just shows you more. So yeah. When she said Zoe Potter, I'm like, yeah, I know who she is. I don't know as much about you as Jenn does. But
I don't know if I know as much about myself as Jenn does.
I find, Zoe, that it's true across lots of different shifts with mindset. that one thing leads to another. So to me, it sounds like even if your intent was to first focus on who you are and then loving yourself through what you find, listening to yourself had to have led to a little bit of your intuitive eating, or at least maybe the research behind sort of that push for you. Does that feel right? Like they sort of,
yes. Yeah.
Like accepting you and loving you led to listening to your cues more.
Yes, that's exactly it. I kind of took a break from dieting because I had been on a diet off and on my entire life. And I just needed a bit of a change. So I stopped dieting and I just started not giving myself restrictions and kind of falling in to see what happens. And then in doing so, I found intuitive eating, and it has worked really well for me. It doesn't work for everybody, but it has worked really well for me. I am in recovery from disordered eating habits. And I found that because I was able to kind of give myself a break when it comes to labeling foods as good or bad, really kind of taking in the moment when I'm eating. That was another thing for me too, is I would kind of just go in blind when I would eat. I would just go in and eat, and it would just be like a free for all. Sometimes I would just stand in front of the fridge and eat. Like, it was very damaging for me, especially when I was dieting, because I would like have extreme restrictions for long periods of time. Some days I'd go 3 days without eating. Then in turn, it would turn into binging. And it was just like, it's like an up and down cycle. And it wasn't working. Clearly it wasn't working. So with intuitive eating, I found that when I don't have to limit the food I have or restrict the food I have, my relationship with food just got so much better. It took time. It's not linear. Like, it's definitely an up and down road. And I have good days and bad still, but I just found myself craving good food and craving certain kinds of food. And I was very in tune to what I wanted in that moment. And I focused on that. So I think in doing that, it just kind of worked out to be what works best for me. Everyone's so different.
I'm sure that process just sort of cleaned things up little by little as you go. Like, I have a very dear friend who I've grown up with, and we've kind of parented together, and things got kind of hard for both of us at the same time in our lives. And she went to intuitive eating and like the anti-diet because she had done all of this, like, I'm going to try this and then gain 10 extra. And then I'm going to try this and then gained 5 more. And she has such a freedom about her relationship to food and that it's fueling her body. It's just such a different mindset. For those people that don't really understand so much, can you describe the anti-diet parts of it?
Yeah. So basically how it is I don't track. Like, I'm not tracking calories. I'm not tracking macros. I'm obviously aware of, certain things, like I need, more fiber in order to make my body feel good. I personally cut down on sweets before bed, or else my anxiety like jumps up. Things like that I'm super aware of. And that just comes like with intuitive eating. You learn to figure out what makes your body feel good and what your body is needing in that moment. But at the same time, I'm very aware of like, man, like I can't stop thinking about like something salty. Like, I really want something salty. But instead of like ignoring those
Who doesn't
cues,
want a Frito at any given moment?
right? Or like,
yes,
if you want that something sweet, you don't turn it away. You give your body and your soul and your mind what you need in the moment. And then you find that you're not overindulging as much, or like I find that I'm not craving things to the point where it's making me sick, and I'm like, making myself sick then in turn by binging or by restricting. So over time, it's worked well for me. And yeah, it's just, it's something that I find is easier to just live and learn as you do it than to like write it down and be like, this is what needs to be done. So I also like remove a lot of like I try not to eat in front of the television too, so I can listen to my hunger cues, and I can kind of, as I'm eating, I'm like, am I getting full? Because like for the longest time, I didn't have a full button. So I'm like, I don't know what that's about. So I don't know what it's like to just be like, oh, I'm full, I'm going to stop now. Like, so.
Well, it's even like satisfied, right? Like deeper than just fullness. It's like, you're not trying to satiate with some big feelings, with some chips.
Exactly.
Which,
That's
hey,
another
girl,
thing
hey.
too. Yeah. I mean, we're all human. I still have bad days. And like today, I definitely had like 3 of 4 of those like chocolate covered Ritz crackers back to back because I'm like, my soul hurts. So this makes my soul feel good.
Is it
And
because you were fangirling over meeting Jenn Dunn? Don't lie.
yeah, it was. It was.
So I'm the big dieter at the table. I have
Oh,
done,
yeah.
oh, I'm the crazy. So I've done LA Weight Loss, Weight Watchers, Dr. Bernstein. And I'm going to be honest, I finished it with Ozempic. I was the
Yeah.
Ozempic girl. I went
Mhm.
from 173.3 to 112.8. I can't maintain 112.8. To be very clear, I'm sitting from that
Mhm.
into the 120s. But the yo-yoing it, like Rachel said, you lose 20, you gain 10. You lose 10, you gain 5. And it's like this, my whole, since I had my daughter, that's when I went on maternity leave, because Canada waived maternity leave. I'd never really been off for a year paid. I didn't have anything else to do but drink. Or not drink, you took a drink, your drink. I didn't drink, I ate. So I gained a lot of weight on maternity leave. That's actually when I gained all my weight. And as my daughter's 13, so for the last 13 years, I have struggled immensely with my weight. And I'm 5 feet tall. So any diet there was, I've done it. I've tried it. They all work, but they're not sustainable.
It's not, it's the
problem.
Sustainability. Exactly. You can't do it all forever unless, I mean, to be fair, I'm very much for, you got to do what works for you. If you have something you love and you do, and that works, stick with it. As long as you're happy and you feel okay and your mental health is good, that's what's important. But I just knew dieting and like extreme dieting and restrictive dieting, it just didn't work for me. So I was like, I got to figure out what's going on. And I knew that a big part of it was mental. And you know, I worked on it through therapy and counseling and a lot of self-reflection and a lot of time spent.
Those are such easy things.
Well, I'll just say,
right?
Time ever this week, we're at Wednesday, of trying this of just eating when I'm hungry and what I want, and not, my big thing is to not binge, try to not binge because I've restricted all week. But then I ordered a pint of ice cream last night. I did eat all of it, so I kind of failed yesterday. I'm not gonna lie.
It's a pint though. It's not like it's a,
but it's not a gallon. It's like that. Okay, I know I can have it, so I actually don't go crazy to have it now.
It's a mindset,
it's
right?
a mindset thing, right? Like you can have this, but you don't have to eat the whole pint of it or the whole bag of it or whatever. So that's a big shift for me. I'm trying it.
Give yourself time and grace. Yeah.
That's just how we were brought up too. So I got into intuitive eating through baby-led weaning when I had my kids.
Oh, I love that.
Weirdly, but I wanted to raise my kids where like, and this is hard to do, like where treats aren't always associated with like fun things. So you can have fun without treats, that kind of idea. And that led me to intuitive eating, which I love. But it is like, I'm hoping I can raise my kids with more of that mindset as opposed to like how we were, where it's like, I mean, when I grew up, it was like, okay, you only have treats like around Christmas or around a birthday, and then you go insane. I think the way like the last few generations were raised, we were really taught to like only like deprive ourselves and then indulge it, deprive ourselves and indulge. So it's like,
yeah.
Hopefully the next generation's a little better about it. Maybe.
I hope so too, like, for our kids' sake.
How bad that is for your body. Like I'm turning 51 in a couple of weeks, and I never really thought about my body. And my mom actually said to me, Jennifer, you're going to drop dead. You can't do that to your body. You can't be so great and then just take these days where you're eating until you're sick, which is literally what I did on Saturday. I ate myself sick on Saturday. So it's like learning that balance of what your body needs, what you should have. And it's hard.
It's very hard.
I've actually never heard of intuitive eating until now, but my struggle is like, I'm like all or nothing.
Yeah.
It's just so hard. Like last year from like January to like August, not saying I was perfect. I lost like 25 pounds and I did kind of like low carb. Like I did keto for like 5 minutes and I was like, that's way too restrictive for me. So I did like low carb, but now I've gained it all back because then we went on vacation. And I was like, well, I'm not going to be on diet. I'm on vacation, you know? And then the holidays were coming. There's like always a reason not to do it. Then me and my husband just went on a cruise. So I'm like, I'm not going to start before the cruise. That would be stupid. Like, so then, you know, now this is supposed to be the week that I'm back to like doing good, which I'm not. I mean, the second I tell myself I'm on a diet, all I want to do is eat. Like, I do not eat this much on a normal basis. Like, but the second I'm on a diet, it's like I'm hungry, but I don't know if I'm actually hungry, if it's my brain thinks I'm hungry because I'm trying to not eat, if that makes sense. So it's
yeah.
like I don't even eat this much on a normal day during the day when I'm not on a diet, and all of a sudden I'm like, I'm hungry. I need a snack. I'm hungry. I didn't have lunch. I need this. And it's just like and then I just beat myself up because I'm like, oh, like I could be down 50 pounds by now. I could be down this much by now if I didn't just like give up. And it's just really hard for me to do that thing where you're like, oh, I'll have a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Cause then it's like once I start doing it, I just want it like more and more and more. So then I'm like, then before I know it, I'm like off the diet. So I'm like,
then I fell into the Ozempic craze. I mean, I just walked into a walk-in clinic and I asked for it. He didn't weigh me. He didn't even ask me what I weighed. He just wrote an endless prescription. I mean, the girls were like, you're filling it again? I'm like, oh yeah. Oh yes, I am. But you have to stop it at some point. It made me very nervous. And so now I'm off it. So it's like, there's nowhere to go from here. Like I've done it all.
The thing with diets and diet culture and society is that they make these programs so that they're made to fail because they don't make money off you if you succeed. There's always going to be something new and trendy and shiny and fancy that's going to be the next best thing to help you feel good and look skinny and this and that, because that's what they want. That's how they profit. That's how the media profits. That's how society profits off it. And that's how these billion-dollar corporations do too. Whether it just be like low carb foods, keto friendly bars, like Ozempic, the pills, marketing. Like it's all marketing because they don't make money when you're happy and when you're okay.
Yeah.
So I think that when you have that in the back of your head, when you are going into things like a diet where then you're like, oh my gosh, this is like the last time I'm ever going to have a potato chip, or it's the last time I'm ever going to have a piece of pizza. I have to eat the whole thing. But when you
I do that every time, like, it's like, you've done this so many times, this isn't true.
But it's because it's been drilled into our heads for so long that's just what we know. That's just how we live. And it's what our parents knew. It's what our parents' parents knew. And that's why it's just been kind of like, it's weird to go against that. And I get all the flack all the time from people being like, that's wrong. That's wrong. You have to be always trying to change yourself and to make yourself smaller. And it's like, wouldn't you hate to know that I feel better now than I did 60 pounds ago? Sorry.
Like regardless of your genes.
Regardless, yeah.
Genes, not
genes. Yeah, genes. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know how many comments you read on your page. I started following you just before you lost your first page, before you got hacked.
Oh, so a while.
Yeah. And people in the comments will make comments that you're drinking Diet Coke. Oh, and you're drinking with the Diet Coke. So how do you handle? Do you just? I mean, it is what it is. I mean, we're all on Facebook. We have blogs. We get
it's kind of the territory. Yeah, the kids are like I stopped sharing a lot of my personal life.
You don't show their faces anymore.
My platform's gotten a lot bigger, which means a lot more people, which means inevitably more trolling, which is part of it. When you exist in a fat body on the internet, it's going to come regardless of what you're talking about. I could literally be sharing a salad every single day and that's it. And I would still get, the hate. It's just,
that's a lot of dressing.
Too many croutons.
You know about those radishes. I'm just kidding. I know shit about radishes.
I love radishes. Actually, they're delicious. But yeah, so I slowly stopped sharing too much about my personal family online. I still share here and there, but I stopped showing their faces. They're not in a ton of my content. They're in some of it. But at the end of the day, people are always looking for an outlet to put their negativity. And usually it comes off on the internet on random strangers' pages. And these people don't know me. They don't know my content. They don't know. They just are having issues mentally themselves. They're probably at home on a 1,200 calorie deficit, working out 3 times a day. They're angry. They're hangry. They're mad because they're like, why does she get to do this and I have to do this? And I'm gonna share it with everybody I know. and make her feel really bad. So I just, for my own mental health, I don't usually check the comment section of a video that I post after like 15, 20 minutes. And, you know, I engage with all of my followers best I can, but you know, I have to cut it at some point, because especially if anything goes like viral-ish, that's when they come in. So
They come in. Yeah.
It's so cool to be able to.
I don't even know how to post on the TikTok, but I hear far more of a Seth.
He calls it the TikTok. So
the TikTok, yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious.
Okay, I have a question. I need to know how you film a what I eat in a day video. I just need to know how you do it.
Oh, it's so easy. I mean, I do it on my phone. I do everything on my phone. I mean, the odd time I'll use my camera, but majority of the time it's on my phone. And I literally will just film little clips throughout the day. So say, for instance, I'm filming a what I ate in a day. I film myself drinking, and I do it usually on the TikTok app, because it's just all there and I'll edit it there and it's easy to just kind of go through. And I'll usually click a 10-minute function so that I have plenty of time if I run over, and I'll just film little clips as I go. So like, for instance, like when I'm eating dinner, I'll usually film myself eating a bite at the counter, film it, put my phone down, walk over to the table, sit down and eat. So it takes like no time at all. A lot of people think that I'm like filming my whole meal, like with my, no, like I take like a couple second
one
clip.
bite cut.
Well, because people are like, don't eat with your children. Like, oh, come on, she's filming a video. So that's why
every day, literally every day. And like, I leave my phone over on the counter. We sit, we talk, we chat, we do all that fun stuff. And it's super easy, but in total, probably, you know, my videos are between 30 seconds and a minute long for what I eat in a day. And in total, the content of like, it's maybe like 2 or 3 minutes of content that I need to edit down. It's super easy. And then I just like put in the wording, and my favorite part is picking the song, because everyone really likes the song choices. They find it comforting and nostalgic sometimes. So yeah.
I get great ideas. It's like, you know, you get ideas like what people eat and how to make things. And
yes, that's another thing too, is I like trying new recipes and like sharing different, like I eat some really random recipes sometimes, and people like, they get on the weird train with me and I feel less alone.
I didn't know a ton about you, but when Jen mentioned you and I started looking, I was like, oh, that's the girl who looks so cute eating. I know this is the most random compliment, but you genuinely, I'm like, when your videos would pop up, I'm like, how do you look cute eating? I would
really? Thank you. That's nice.
I think it's adorable.
Oh,
I love her.
No, thank you.
The other thing that we've been able to sort of cultivate in our culture is some advice for the moms that listen to us. Mostly we've got moms, we've got some teachers and therapists and stuff. But as I had told you when we very first started recording, is we each are writers. We each write about our experience parenting autism within our families. And so we try and have advice and little takeaways for our listeners throughout our episodes. I have a couple of questions in this advice sort of focus. Yeah. Do you have advice for someone who wants to get started? Like, what's the first step of letting go of all the structure in eating? Like, is it mindfulness first, or is it a new routine, or like, what's the best first thing? Broadly. I mean, I realize everybody's got their own shtick, right?
Yeah. So for me, the biggest takeaway was, first of all, was to think about what kind of meals I wanted to eat and not to restrict those meals. So for the first like 6 months I ate like fast food like every other day. For sure, because I didn't eat it for so long, and then I was over it. And now I'm kind of over fast food. Like I could give or take it. Like obviously the odd time, like I crave like, you know, a taco or a fried chicken, but like
who doesn't crave a taco?
No, but I'd rather have a home cooked meal. Like I don't want to make it, but I want a home cooked meal. So
You're a HelloFresh partner now, I believe.
Yes, it's so much easier than like the grocery shopping and all that, because I hate grocery shopping with all my heart. But yeah, so I would make a list of everything, maybe all the foods that you were scared to eat when you were dieting. So I like
stuff
had
you
a
dream
list.
of.
Yeah. And some of the stuff was pretty sad, because I was a keto girly. I did keto for like a year.
So you're just like,
and a half.
Bread, give me a bread.
Literally,
give
me some bread.
Yeah.
I wanted an orange and a banana. Like, that's
banana.
sad.
Oh my God,
If
the
you
banana.
You can't have bananas and oranges. Something's wrong. So I would make a list of all the things that like scared me or that I avoided. And I just like slowly start having them. and trying to take away the morals behind it. So I would like go and I would get myself like a cheeseburger. I'm not really a cheeseburger person, but like a cheeseburger or like poutine. I don't know. You guys aren't in Canada, but poutine's delicious.
We've got a Canadian enough to know about that gravy
Good
fries.
stuff. Yeah.
So good. Things like that I had deprived myself of for so long and that I was scared of, because that's what diet culture does, is it makes it scarier. They're like, hey, you can still have your pizza, but it's going to be on a cauliflower crust with like 0 fat cheese. Like, enjoy. So
Enjoy that.
So I went out of my way to just make a list and keep that like ongoing. And then on top of that, I started to really like focus on my eating. So I would taking away any distractions. So obviously sitting with your family, that's not a distraction, but taking away your phone, taking away the TV, taking away the iPad, the computer, all of that, and just sitting and trying to focus on how that food makes you feel as you're eating it. Those are the 2 biggest takeaways that I would start with right away. And then in turn, you can start, doing things a little more specific, like making sure you're including more fiber and protein and, making sure you're having carbs throughout each meal and like protein throughout each meal. But the 2 biggest things that I would start with is like trying to think about the foods that you really want to try and like try and take away the morality behind it and just eat it. Just eat it. I'm not saying gorge it, but I'm saying eat it. Like, go get yourself a combo from Wendy's or Burger King or wherever, have it.
And an orange.
And see how it makes you feel. Some foods are good for, nourishment. Some foods are good for your body and some foods are good for your soul. Like, people forget that like mental health and physical health, they're buddies. You got to kind of take care of both of them.
Which I think it's a big struggle for people though.
Yeah. They don't, they forget that it's even a thing.
My second question regarding advice for our listeners is, if you find yourself coping in the cupboard and having sort of a relapse of like feeling this, like the mental strain of the banana, and I don't mean to make light of it, but that's like,
no, but it's true.
These ingrained things, right? If you're getting down on yourself, what can you do to sort of flip and reverse it so that you don't get stuck in a lane, rather that you see it as a relapse and kind of carry through?
I always go back to the same thing every time. Today, for instance, I was having a bad day. I wanted to cope with food. I wanted to go downstairs and eat my feelings. Like, that's life. Like that doesn't go away. So I always take it, and I always say this to myself, and I always say this, it's a bad day. It's not a bad life. Tomorrow's a new day. We'll start fresh again tomorrow. It's okay. Don't punish yourself tomorrow for what happened today. And I think that that's kind of the diet culture mindset is I binged. Now I don't get to eat for 2 days. Like, that's
6 days.
That's just, or the opposite.
It spirals into a 6-month eating binge.
Exactly.
Any progress you've made is gone, and then you feel even worse.
I know it's like it's a disgusting cycle that just keeps happening. Take the day, take the afternoon, take the morning. It's a bad day, not a bad life. Move on to tomorrow and start fresh, and it's fine. Like, it's not the end of the world if something changed, or like, for instance, it's the opposite. Maybe you didn't eat for the majority of the day, and then you had one meal, and then you feel guilty, and then you're like, oh no, I feel guilty, I didn't eat. It's okay. Tomorrow morning, just prioritize breakfast. Have breakfast then. That's all you have to do, is have breakfast and go from there. Just focus on the fact that it happens. It's life, and that's normal, and tomorrow's a new day.
And what about with your kids? Do you focus on what they eat? Because I noticed with my daughter, when I started using the word like, oh, we're going to eat healthy, she's like, no, healthy. Like, it's that word almost triggered her, where she would be like thinking, okay, well then I don't want to have this food if it's healthy. I only want to eat this. Now I don't use those words. I don't put as much emphasis on the food anymore.
Yeah.
Because I found that I was giving her a complex about the food.
Yes. And that's kind of it. I mean, instinctually as parents, we just immediately go for like, you got to eat your veggies before you, like, I threw that out the window ages ago. I give
my girl,
kids...
same. All of us have too, because autism dictates what our kids can or will eat at any given moment. So we threw expectations out a long time ago, or most of our listeners have.
Yeah, for sure. And like, I have my daughter who eats everything under the sun, with some exceptions. And then my son, who is the chicken finger king. He doesn't eat any meat in the world unless it comes in chicken nugget form, and only certain chicken nuggets. Not, I'm sure you all know this struggle.
Welcome to the table.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But he's a toddler. It's expected. And, you know, I just, you know, I pair his chicken nuggets with, you know, some Greek yogurt and some berries and things that I know he will eat. And I just try and take, so for instance, like I don't take food as treats. Like treats are things like going to get our nails done, or, you know, going to the play center or things like that. Those are treats in our household. And the food is just food. And all of them have different things to help with. So for instance, like I don't say healthy, I say we need something that's going to give us energy. We need something that's going to make us strong. We need something that's going to make our bones heal and be strong. So I say nutrient dense food. So I say like, let's have some nutrient dense foods, and then we can have some fun food, a cookie, some ice cream. And I'll usually put them all together and they just end up eating everything. I like snacky options. Like I'm just like, give me a little snacky plate and I'll be good to go.
But I think it's the same for kids. When you start restricting them, especially like so young, I think it just sets them up to that binging life of getting it. So actually my best friend, she's this health freak. It's just who she is, but she's never limited anything to her children. So it's not a novelty for them to have chips. Like if they had juice, they would have fruit because it's no big deal. She's never limited anything. She got lucky with her kids. They've never really been big sweet candy kids, but there's been no limitations to them. So they don't feel like they have to grab those chips or they have to eat all the Halloween candy because it's kind of always accessible to them.
Same with us. Everything's open. We have like a snack cupboard with the kids, all the cheeses, pepperoni sticks, all that's like in reaching distance. And they obviously have to ask before they have something, but I usually never say no because they're never making crazy, unless it's like, you know, first thing in the morning and my son wants an ice cream bar. I'm like, I'm not sending you to grandma's after an ice cream bar. Like that's just mean.
You're mad at grandma and then he gets two.
Yeah, exactly. So, but yeah, no, for the most part, like they're open to make their choices. They usually make good choices. And like you said, avoiding the restrictions means that they're not going to have this stigma with food. Like the first time I remember, like I was young, the first time that I like binged on things in secret, like in secret too. Like my kids, I've never found, you know, candy bar wrappers or things like that, like in hiding because they felt like they had to hide it. Which is so good. Like, I feel like that's a little win for me, like just like a tiny win that they don't feel like they have to hide.
I definitely try to hide eating snacks with my kids when they were little.
Yeah, you don't want to share. I'm like, I don't want you to have this. This is mine.
Like,
I'm gonna go
in the bag real slow.
Yeah, that's too funny.
One of the coolest things about your Eat a Day post is that, like for me, it would give me some accountability to stay present within my stuff, not in a tracking sort of way, but just like the presence of mind. I can imagine that it's probably provided something similar to you, but can you tell me about how your Pinterest boards fulfill, like your Pinterest challenges fulfill one of your interests, or like how you came to that?
The outfit challenge with my friend Sarah. Yeah. So I think, I don't even remember. So we've been doing it for quite some time now. We've had like little breaks here and there, but I think that there was a couple things we wanted to tackle with it. Is we wanted to kind of take the standard Pinterest fashion boards where, you know, you search an outfit style on Pinterest and it floods your page with the same body type. It's always the same body type. And there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of variations of that look, but it's always on thin women for the most part. Very rarely do you see any different body sizes or body shapes or body. So we just thought it would be fun to take these beautiful fashion looks on these beautiful women and just recreate them for our body size so that you can see what that outfit looks like on two different body sizes. And then on top of that, we wanted to kind of challenge it because, you know, overconsumption is so real. And especially in the influencer industry, we're all about what's the next hottest thing, what's the next style. Like you got to throw out all this clothes because this is in style now. And like I personally stopped shopping and doing like Shein hauls. Like it's been so long since I've shopped on Shein. Just I never will shame someone for shopping there, but when you're, you know, influencing people, I just want to like take away from like that extreme fast fashion, the companies that are like on another level where they're, you know, like the amount of production is like over the roof. So I feel like in doing this, we can then kind of see what we already have, see what we can make use of, and try and repurpose things that we've already worn and like used and that we have in our closet already to show that you don't need to buy the next greatest thing. You can
just try your t-shirt this different way or something.
Exactly. Yeah. So that was like another way to kind of like challenge it. And like, obviously I still shop and I still buy things, but I'm just a little bit more aware of it. And I don't shop at like the big, you know, fast fashion brands like Shein and Fashion Nova and things like that, because I just know that, you know, there's people who want to use that and it's affordable for them and it's great. But when it's me and I'm there, the thing with the industry is like influencers will have like videos go viral because they spent like $300 at Shein and try on like 45 outfits. And that's just, you know, it's that like, give me more and more and more. And it's just more problematic than anything. So I'm like, I don't need to do that.
To me, all of that content is so much more mindful. Like, I'm sorry, your version of all of these different lanes, like fashion and anti-diet and like not so much body positivity, but self-love and acceptance, I feel is like they all just complement each other to a better, healthier lifestyle that is sustainable, multi-generational, like, you know, who won't benefit from just loving yourself a little better. But I applaud you because it's hard to stand in one spot and still want to like affect all of these different lanes and layers and have it be not on brand, but like according to your genuine self. And I feel like you've done that in such a cool way. All of the things that you've cultivated support the betterment of the person and the acceptance of where you are. I think that's cool. We talked about inner voice and our inner dialogue and sort of, I think it's so important to have moments in your life. If you haven't hit that now as a listener, you like, let this be your call to action, because accepting who you are and realizing that there's ways to make it dress cute, look good, feel better, have a glass of water, not a whatever. Like there's just little tiny tweaks you can make to make loving you a little easier.
Yeah.
And I feel like your content does that beautifully.
Oh, thank you. I really appreciate that. Yeah. Life is too short to be like at war with yourself and to make yourself feel crummy all the time. Like you need to really kind of hone in and see what makes you feel good.
The problem is social media. I mean, that's when kids get on and see what they see and the ads. I mean, you very rarely see a plus size person in an ad anywhere on TV. I mean, everyone is like this. I mean, it's literally the Ozempic. It's literally like everything. So the expectations that, I sound so old saying this generation, but the expectations are so unrealistic. You know,
they are. Yeah. And I think we're getting better. I wouldn't say that we're good and we're there yet, but I think we're getting better at calling everyone out on that too. Like we're just done. Like we're tired and especially now, I feel like because the world is the way it is, we're headed into a recession. We're just done with seeing people, you know, flaunt their unattainable wealth and, you know, unattainable bodies because they're using Photoshop and like we're just over it. And I feel like we're fighting back a little bit now. And I feel like it's a lot easier to look on social media and look on, you know, places where there's a presence of people and see more bodies that look like you and more people that look like you, whether it be your age or, you know, your body shape or, you know, anything. It's just we're going very slow. And we do take some steps back with like now with the Ozempic craze and things like that. Like it's going to always be like this, but I think that we're getting better as a society as holding things like people and, you know, social accountable. Like we're like, no, we don't want to do that, or
accountability for them and grace for ourselves. I feel like is the combo that we need, you know.
And we got to commend you and others like you that you know, have the courage to show their real self. It's not easy to do that, you know. And then No, it's not, right? And then
It's not, no.
But more people get to see real people, not, not always the perfect looking person.
Yeah.
I even noticed, so I have 2 kids that are 19 and 21, and like their expectations are so different than when I was growing up. Like they're gonna wear a crop top regardless if their stomach is flat or not. They're like, nope, no body shaming over here.
It's
like,
so nice. It's so refreshing.
It's so nice. And and it's like, I think back to when I was a teenager, like you wouldn't do that. Like they're just they just have such a more positive outlook on their bodies and more realistic, like they're like, this is just my body. Like, you know what I mean? Like, of course, everybody has their own insecurities about stuff, but like, it's just so different. These kids nowadays, I feel like the expectations are a little bit more widened with all of it's like social media. It's like, I don't know, some of it's like not good because there's all the filters and all the, people can really make themselves look a lot different than they actually look. But I also think that there's a lot more real people that you're seeing, not just people that are like perfect looking. The more that you see that, the more that, it's kind of like
it's easier to find a community. Yeah. And like some things you want to surround yourself with.
Community is the best way to finish this episode. I feel like build your community, people, find like-minded people loving themselves. You can follow Zoe at the pages that she mentioned before. And before we close this though, I want to invite you to our One Last Thing segment, Zoe. We are going to take just a moment to vent or rant or share accolades about just one last thing. I will get us started tonight, if that's okay with anybody else. Do you have a rant or a rave?
No. Hit it, because I'm going to follow your lead. So you just go right ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have one last thing. This time it's out of appreciation rather than a rant, and it's quick. Kim already kind of started this bit of dialogue, but I want to thank each of you, Jenn, Kim, and Jaime, for sharing authentically about our lives, and Zoe, for both being here and for putting up with our shifty nature tonight. But really, I feel so strongly about us living boldly and sharing as we do, about being proud of what our families are or who we've become or the path that we've taken. I think for me, the best way that we can impact people is to show them a different way to do things. And you all do. So I appreciate that. I'm done. That's my one last.
Right. Well, I'm going to go with one last thing. I've done every diet under the sun, listeners. It will not make you happy. I mean, it will make you happy when you hit that number, and I've been there. But the struggle coming back and forth is, for me, it's really being okay with where I'm at now and cruising steady. So that's my one last thing. Find where you're at.
James?
I'm thinking of one. I will say like a couple things I thought about while we were talking. Also, picking back off of what Jenn just said, like the stress of like, so many times we do those diets and they like become our identity for that little while. It's like every January and February, you're like Weight Watcher Queen or Keto Queen or whatever. And it adds so much extra stress to our lives. And I know like most of us are either parents or teachers or fathers. And it's like, do we really need that extra stress? And how loving ourselves makes everything so much easier. So that's my little thought. Kimmy, do you have anything?
I'm just hungry.
Oh my gosh, eat. You need to eat. That's my final. Eat the food. Eat the food. Eat it. It's okay. It's gonna make you feel good. Eat it. What are you gonna have?
We're having cheeseburger salad for dinner tonight.
Oh, yum. That's so good. Like a Big Mac salad?
Sort of, but we don't use the sauce. We just use sweet Vidalia dressing on ours. So my husband just makes cheeseburgers, cuts them up, and we do like a red pepper, lettuce, cucumber. It's actually really good.
God.
So
again, I don't even like ice cream, and I ate a pint of it.
Yeah,
it's in here.
Just keep trying. I'm just gonna keep trying.
Enjoy your salad. Enjoy it. It'll be good. It'll be delicious. One day at a time.
Thank you, everybody, and thank you again, Zoe, for being here.
Thank you, Zoe.
Yes, Zoe said you could.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was a blast.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of the Talk Like a Mother Parenting Autism podcast. If you are enjoying our podcast, make sure to rate and review us wherever you listen. And if you'd like to support us, you can become a subscriber. Just check out the description of this episode. Give us a follow on Facebook and Instagram for more content, and we'll see you next time.